Good morning, sports fans. You're listening to 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio.
This is Eric Hatfield along with Coach Perry Daniels, and we are here to bring you the latest, the greatest, the best, and the most entertaining in high school, college, and professional sports. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports. Good morning, Baton Rouge. We're on a nice thawed-out Saturday morning, a balmy 70 degrees with overcast skies, but there's no ice and there's no freeze, and it's another wonderful weekend here in the capital city.
A wonderful weekend, man. No, it's a super weekend.
It is a super weekend with the Super Bowl coming up. Today's Saturday, February 1st, and this is 96.9 FM WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio, and you're listening to Louisiana All American Sports. This is Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Coach Perry Daniels, and we are ready for the Super Bowl this weekend. Man, I'm excited, Eric.
Oh, I'm fired up, too. I bet your friends Cheech and Chong are ready for the Super Bowl, too, considering the participants in the game with representatives from the states of Colorado and Washington.
Man, they're doing it up. Can you imagine those Super Bowl parties in those home cities?
Oh my God, I bet you it's a full. There's just a lot of Doritos, a lot of Twinkies, a lot of Cheetos, probably a lot of Jack in the Box being served there. I bet you it is just junk food city.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. Hey, but it should be a really good football game between two great opponents, the number one teams in both conferences. We're going to get to a lot of Super Bowl action later. Right now, we're going to start with some high school action.
Absolutely. And for your reference, 225-343-9927, 225-343-9927 if you'd like to get in on the conversation.
And starting off at the high school action, we're going to start off in the bottom, where the McKinley Panthers defeated Dutchtown 56-42 in District 5-5A. McKinley's now 2-0. Coach Dotson's done a fantastic job. I wasn't quite sure what was going on down there in McKinley earlier on in the season when they lost some games that I felt they really should not have lost. But now they seem to get it together, and they should make a strong run. This is a really good basketball team that McKinley has down there, and that's good that they jump out in their district 2-0, and now Dutchtown falls to 1-1 in that district. And Dutchtown's a pretty good team in themselves, but McKinley was just a little too much for them last night.
And you can see those McKinley Panthers on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com on Tuesday, February the 4th. They will be playing host to the Woodlawn Panthers. So that should be a competitive contest.
Be a good game, man.
And you can catch that exclusively on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com.
Awesome. Hey, man, the number one team in the state, those Scotlandville Hornets, they're still on a roll, man. They crushed Zachary yesterday by 20 points. Ezekiel Brown, the senior guard, he had 16 points, 7 assists, 7 steals, and 5 rebounds. That's Ezekiel Brown coming back off of a 3-day rest. Those of you outside of the area, Baton Rouge has been shut down for 3 days due to the ice and the weather situation. No schools could practice.
Yeah, it was a crazy last 3 days, man. I mean, last week, rather. I mean, we've had, of the last 6 business days in the capital city, 4 of them have been shut down due to snow and ice. It's really, we don't handle cold very well because we don't deal with it very often.
We've gotten
a dose of it the last week and a half.
And these basketball teams came out, and I give my hats off to the teams that played last night. I do know that the Bel Air Bengals were in no shape to play last night. So we're going to play tonight, and we'll take on Tara for a pivotal game in our district.
It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, well, hey, man, Tara spent a lot of time ranked, and they went into the EBR tournament ranked number 3 in the area.
Yeah, they got some skills on that team.
Yeah, so we've got our work cut out for us. Last night, though, Christian Life defeated Varnado 80-55, and Denham Springs defeated Live Oak 62-43. Episcopal beat Estroma 52-37, and Dunham defeated East Feliciana 61-29. So, Eric,
that's a beating.
Yeah, man. That Dunham team's a really good team.
Yeah.
Our good friend Jamie Holmes over at Family Christian, they won 76-53.
Good. I was a little worried about them. They had some questionable scores rolling in earlier in the year.
Right. You're absolutely right. They're 11-15 on the season, 1-0 in their district. Let's find out what happened last night with West Feliciana and Port Allen.
Well, West Feliciana and Port Allen, and what ended up, and I think I figured out the reason for it, it ended up inadvertently being a Louisiana All American Sports.com exclusive, because if you open to the today's Advocate, you won't find the score in the paper. We were talking about that right before the show, but I just realized that game didn't end until almost 10 o'clock last night. The girls' game ran very, very, very long. It might have been 2.5 hours, maybe.
Oh, wow. Who won?
Oh, well, Port Allen, those in the community know the Port Allen girls team they've been riddled with a lot of losses of senior leaders, mostly freshmen on the team, and they've gotten hammered in some games. One game they had, I think, like a total of 12-point score. Well, last night, they pulled out the gloves and duked it out with the West Feliciana Saints. And I think the final margin of victory for West Feliciana might have been 6 points or 9 points, but they were in that game literally until the final minute, and it became a fouling competition and a lot of time spent at the line. Yeah. So that caused that game to run very, very long. If you were waiting for the boys' game on Louisiana All American Sports.com, you might have noticed I'm saying the boys' game will start at 7:15. No, 7:45. 7:55. It started just after 8 o'clock, so I appreciate all of you that tuned in. And also, we had some real serious video issues last night, some technical issues all around. The good news is, those with the new Louisiana All American Sports format, even when everything goes to hell in a handbasket, you can still follow on the graphic interface.
Isn't that awesome?
It is awesome, because there was no way else to get the score. The first half, we had an audio-only commentary. The second half, we had pretty much nothing but me updating the scores. It is brought to you by the power of wireless internet, and Port Allen in that location is a little remote, so if the signal strength is not strong, there's only so much output that we can give you, but you can always follow on the graphic interface. We're constantly updating the scores, the fouls, the timeouts, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd like to thank all of you that logged in. That is not a normal experience. We'll be at McKinley, much stronger signal strength on Tuesday. You should get the full experience on Tuesday evening, but nonetheless, Port Allen and West Feliciana ranked numbers 2 and 9 in the Baton Rouge area, respectively, regardless of classification. Really duked it out like a couple of heavyweight fighters last night. It was a great battle.
That's what they are, regardless of classification.
But in that third quarter, as we're starting to see really all year with Port Allen, they just hit the gas pedal. And while Nick Parker was, as always, was the star of the game, and Nigel Allen was nailing three-point shots,
Nigel Allen's the man.
He is, but there's another guy who's the man who I hope I'm helping him get some notice. His name is Telson Allen, number 25. I call him the spark plug. I call him champion, because this dude just turns it on. Well, last night, there was a scout from Nicholls State University sitting right next to me, and actually he's probably listening right now, and I have his business card in my pocket, and I will give you a shout out as soon as I can dig it out. But I was very sure to talk up Telson. Coach Darren J. Kohne, he's assistant coach at Nicholls University. He was checking some folks out. I'd like to thank the college scouts out there for checking us out.
And Coach, anytime you would want to come on the Louisiana All American Sports radio show, man, just let us know. We'd love to do an interview with you.
Absolutely. 225-343-9927. 225-343-9927. If you're listening, Coach, we'd love to have you on. Talk up all the benefits of Nicholls State University, how it's close, how you get a good education. They have a competitive basketball team, good baseball team too. So if you want to talk up the Nicholls State Colonels, by all means, or just talk sports with us, by all means, give us a shout.
Anytime.
But we'd love having the college scouts there, but he was very interested in what we were doing, and I definitely made sure, since he was sitting about as close to me as you are, I made sure to talk up Telson Allen, because he's a guy, his stats don't jump off the page, but his motor. I've never seen a kid hustle like him in the 3 years we've been covering high school basketball, and we've covered an excellent team in Madison Prep Academy for 2 years. So anyway, so I've talked up Telson Allen a lot. He deserves some credit, because that kid really was the difference. When a foul shot was missed, it was like he was up there putting his hands on the ball before, say, 6'4" Ishmael Lane could put his hands on the ball. I mean, he was just all over, making shots, second effort. So, Nick Parker definitely had the statistical game of the night, and he was definitely the straw that stirred the drink. I don't want to mislead you, but Telson Allen was that extra push that pushed the Pelicans over the top, and the game wound up being really one-sided by the end of the game. So,
speaking of, you mentioned Madison Prep a few minutes ago. Madison Prep takes on their biggest challenge of the year. They got to go to Christian Life Monday night.
Oh, man,
so
that's
going to
be
a pivotal game in that district.
I'll tell you what, if you like high school basketball, that's going to be a treat. These two teams have slugged. Now, if I remember correctly, I think Madison Prep has gotten the better of those battles, but Christian Life has got a lot of talent for that. Jonathan Stove, R.J. Herzog, very well coached by Coach Stephen Dale. So that is going to, if you're into high school sports, we won't be covering that one, but that's one you should go and see.
That's right.
If you have have nothing better to do on a Monday night. It won't be freezing, so no excuses. And no Monday Night Football either. So, anyway.
All right, man. We got a big day. We got to transition out of this thing, man. Hold on. You keep going.
All right.
Did you finish up the Port Allen?
Oh, yeah. I think we've...
Let me get this together.
All right. So, yeah, we're gonna move on now from high school sports on to the college game, and then of course we have a really big game tomorrow. And I'm not talking about the Orlando Magic playing the Boston Celtics. I'm talking about Super Bowl 48. But you can talk high school, college, pro sports, or anything related to the sporting world or the community here at Baton Rouge Community Radio at 225-343-9927, area code 225-343-9927. Just to give you a preview of what we have coming up, we have a lot of college basketball on the horizon. College basketball has really made I don't want to call it a comeback, but they've definitely put on a very strong lineup this year. They've marketed their freshman stars very well. I think somebody realized, hey, even if we have them for a year, oatmeal's better than no meal. So anyway, we're going to come back to you all very shortly after this brief intermission, about 90 seconds. We'll see you on the other side. You are listening to Louisiana All American Sports on 96.9 WHYR LP Baton Rouge Community Radio. Hope you all enjoyed that little blast in the past, the little EPMD here on Louisiana All American Sports. You know, we're going to throw a little flavor in it. It is radio. You got to hear some kind of music.
Most definitely.
So, look, we got some college basketball action starting off on the Bluff.
Hey, man, college basketball in Baton Rouge, period, is going well, especially on the Bluff, where the Southern University Jaguars sit in first place with a 7-1 record, and they take on Alcorn State tonight, who happens to be 5-3 in the SWAC. A lot of teams really close here. Alabama State and Texas Southern both only have 2 losses in the SWAC. So if somehow Alcorn can pull off the upset here, then you've got one game separating 4 teams.
That's going to be another, much like in football, it's going to be very clustered and crowded, it seems like, in the SWAC this season.
Right. And on the other hand, though, if Southern University wins tonight at home, which they should, then they put a little separation between them and Alcorn State. Mm-hmm. They still have Alabama State and Texas Southern on their heels. The problem with the Southern University Jaguars seems to be that they can't knock down crucial free throws.
That'll kill any team at any level.
Yeah, they're last in the SWAC in free throw shooting.
You know,
but they're playing great defense. They're a defensive team. Coach Banks has them really focusing on defense, and that's what's getting them through, and that's how they're 7-1 right now. So
we had some commentary actually from a guest that just chimed in on the hotline about Southern University and their inability to knock down free throws. And actually, sounds like you all want to get in on the conversation. We're more than happy to take you all there. So we'll put our other guest on hold for a moment, and we'll go ahead and take that listener's phone call very shortly. But anyway, missing foul shots will kill you at any level. It could be high school, it can be college, it can be junior college. And actually, we have a friend of the show calling up. It's somebody from the coaching staff of Nicholls University. I can hear Perry in the background. I'm not sure if that's Coach Kohne or another member of the staff, but we definitely want to get everybody that helps contribute to athletics in the state of Louisiana through and give them a voice and a forum on this show.
Hold on. Here we go.
And actually, you should be live on the air with Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels. Can you hear me? Alrighty, who am I speaking with this morning?
This is Coach from Nicholls State.
Oh, it's Coach Kohne. Hey, how you doing, man? All right. Thanks for calling the show. Appreciate you calling this morning. What'd you want to rap about?
Coach, no, in fact, man, let's do this. Tell us about the Nicholls State basketball program, where you guys are right now, and what you've got coming up this week.
Absolutely. Well, we're 6-2 in the Southland Conference, and we're sitting in second place out of the 14 conference teams. We had a huge overtime victory on Thursday night on ESPN versus Oral Roberts University. We won 73-72, led by our 2 seniors. Dantrell Thomas had 28 points and 5 rebounds, and Jeremy Smith from New Orleans had 23 points and 6 rebounds. So they really just found a way to make sure that we won the game. And then this afternoon we have the University of Central Arkansas coming in for a 3:30 tip-off in Stouffer Gym down here in Thibodaux, Louisiana. And then after tonight's game, for the next 2 weeks, we'll be on the road. So we'll have 4 straight games on the road and just trying to position ourselves to have the opportunity to win a Southland Conference championship and also playing for seeding for the Southland Conference tournament over in Katy, Texas in early March.
That's awesome, Coach.
You guys are in the Southland Conference now. For some folks that might not be as familiar with mid-major basketball, I remember a long time ago UNO used to be in that conference. I believe they've moved since. Or no, they are still in the Southland, aren't they?
Yeah, UNO is back in the Southland.
Okay. So who are just give, I guess, the listeners a profile of the conference.
Well, it's majority of the Louisiana and Texas teams. So from Louisiana, you got Southeastern Louisiana, New Orleans, Nicholls State University, obviously, McNeese State, Northwestern State. I think I nailed them all. And then over in Texas, you got Houston Baptist, Stephen F. Austin, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, Incarnate Word, Abilene Christian, and then also Central Arkansas. And then you got Oral Roberts out of Oklahoma. I may have missed somebody, but I think I got them all.
That's awesome, Coach. You know, we're local radio, so we love local teams and we love local players. Can you tell us where you mentioned Dontrell Thomas? Where's he from? He's from Silsbee, North Louisiana. Okay. And he's a senior. He's his 4th year here in the program. He just became a 1,000-point scorer last week in a great win over at McNeese State University in Lake Charles, and he's just having a fantastic year. He's in the running for Conference Player of the Year. He's in the top 20 in every statistical category, and he's in the top 10 in the majority. And he's been getting some nice recognition from Fox Sports and CollegeInsider.com. Just named him a couple weeks ago. Did a nice special on him about one of the top players in the country you'd never heard of, and he's really been doing a nice job. And then him and Jeremy Smith as well. He's sitting on back-to-back 20-point performances as a 5th-year senior. Really great story. He came to Nicholls State University as a walk-on.
Well, Coach, I'll tell you what, I really appreciate you calling him. Also appreciate you coming out to the game last night and taking a look at some of the high school talent we have here. And also wish you the best of luck against Central Arkansas this afternoon. Real quick, though, just got to ask, since it's Super Bowl weekend, who do you have in the big game?
Super Bowl weekend. Well, you know what? I wasn't quite sure that either one of those teams would make it. But I know everyone down here in Louisiana is back in the Mannings. I don't really have a vested interest with either team, but a couple of my former graduate assistants are from Seattle, and they're diehard Seahawks fans, so I told them I'd roll with them and roll with that defense and roll with the Seahawks.
All right, so you got the new Dirty Birds. All right, Coach, thank you so much for joining us today, and please feel free to chat with us anytime here on Louisiana All American Sports.
Hey, I appreciate it, my man. You guys have a blessed weekend.
All right, thank you. You too, sir.
All right.
Well, that was great. That was Coach Kohne from Nicholls State University. And they looks like the Colonels actually playing some tough ball. They played the likes of Indiana and Memphis, so they're not scared, and they're on a little hot streak. So definitely tune into some Colonels basketball when they're on the tube.
Yeah, man, we're gonna check back with Coach periodically, have him call in and give us the update. Hey, man, we got another caller, man. This is a great show.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm glad we've stimulated some folks' interest today. Always glad to do that, and we're always glad to have you talking with us on the Louisiana All American Sports radio program. We're going to take another phone call, and after that we are going to discuss a little more college basketball because there is a big roster coming up today. Also, we are going to talk about the LSU Tigers. Of course, they're riding a little bit of a mini hot streak. Can they keep that momentum going? Can they keep it going? And then, of course, we're going to talk about Super Bowl XLVIII, which is the big game. Talk about a little NBA as LeBron had a good one-on-one matchup with Kevin Durant and the Oklahoma City Thunder, but the Heat got their butts whooped. We have a caller on the line. Good morning. You're on the air with Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels. What's your name? One more time.
LJ Parker.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Parker? What would you like to rap about today? Is that Coach?
No, not Coach Parker.
Okay.
Not Coach Parker, but go ahead and ask your question.
I go to I'm Nick Parker, oldest brother. And
Oh, hey, how you doing?
so so I don't get to come to the games a lot. And my sophomore year, I made it to the top 28 up in basketball, and I don't get to come see Nick play a lot. I want to know if Port Allen poised to make a top 28 run this year.
Hey, that's an excellent question, and I'll tell you what. I know you've heard a couple of our broadcasts of Port Allen basketball. We've covered 5 of their games, and I'll tell you, and I've been saying this all year. Just from what I'm seeing, look, 3A is a very competitive. That's a competitive classification. No getting around that. But from what I've seen, this team, I've seen what it takes. I've seen the chemistry and the energy and the momentum and all that stuff in a championship team as we watched the Madison Prep Academy Chargers, go to state semifinals in 2012 and then win the championship in 2013. And I see a lot of parallels to that championship formula in that team this year. They're built very well. They got a lot of energy. They're well coached. You can tell they like each other, which goes a long way.
Right.
And they have excellent talent. They're not their strength is more with speed and with sharpshooting, whereas like the MPA team we saw had a lot of length. But nonetheless, this team can make a run. They can win the championship. It's not a fairy tale.
Not at all, Eric. And as they continue to win, one of the benefits is that they play in probably the toughest 3A district in the state. They've got 4 of the top 10 teams in that classification in their district.
Right.
When you look at them, West Feliciana, Parkview Baptist, and the other team that they just beat, UHI.
It's like number 1 in the district.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're battle tested.
Yes, they are.
They're battle tested. So and their ranking should be high enough to get enough home games.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they were ranked 2 as far as the area, so they got to be ranked real high in the district.
Exactly.
If they don't take district.
So we thank you for calling. We thank you for listening to the Louisiana All American Sports radio show.
My bad.
All right, man, you keep rolling. We got to get the fixer.
All right, we got the fixer coming in with St. Louis in the building. But let's talk about some more college basketball. Like I said, we've talked about Southern University playing well. Oh, we had our guest on the hotline who kind of wanted to comment about the impact of missed free throws. God, we got a lot of callers stacked up today. Go ahead. Oopsie daisy. So we'll get him on the line in just a moment. So let's rock and roll, talking about a little LSU basketball. LSU had a really, really, really good week this past week. They're playing some great basketball. They had a win against the Kentucky Wildcats on Tuesday evening that I just did not see coming.
I've got to get in on some of that, man.
Oh, here's Coach.
Well, I'll start off by saying this. Do not blame that game on the defense, okay?
See? Yeah.
Okay? I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team.
Right. Much less a SWAC team, you're not going to beat anybody if you don't hit your free throws. Coach, I completely agree with you. That's former New Orleans Saints head coach Jim Mora, senior, wink, wink, calling us up today, friend of the show, and he's absolutely right. You will win nothing if you miss critical free throws. But back to LSU. Appreciate you calling, Coach. Back to LSU. They had the Kentucky Wildcats on Tuesday night. Now, first of all, shame on me. I just kind of assumed with the bad weather rolling in and all the closures that they were going to move that game back, but they did not. The show must go on for 5,500 people at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. But I'll tell you what, they made up for a lot of lost crowds because they were raucous and wild and rocking and rolling. And they beat Kentucky by 5 points, 87-82. I was really impressed. The LSU Tigers showed me something because after dropping a close game at Alabama on the road, they really rallied back to take it to the number 11 team in the country. We have a regular friend of the show on the line. We have our friend, the Fixer.
I'm going down, baby. Yo, street in the rain. Come on.
Good morning, Mr. Fixer. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, we got the Fixer on the line. Go ahead.
Hey, man, y'all rolling in Las Vegas around this time. I know it's a lot of excitement out there, right?
Oh, man, it's jam-packed out here. Everybody's excited. Everybody's out here. Put their best in, it's that time of year. This is what we do.
You know what, Eric? They say the second best place to watch the game if you're not at the Super Bowl is Las Vegas.
Oh, I believe that because there's a lot of activity. You can pretty much bet on the first commercial, the first person to go to the bathroom. It's everything in Las Vegas is a big deal.
And that's some of the stuff the Fixer's going to talk to us about today, man. Go ahead, run your deal, G.
Hey, you have no idea the prop bets out there. It's all a little bit of everything. One of the things you bet on this year is will the announcer say the word marijuana during the game?
Really? What are the odds on that?
Yeah, what are the odds on that?
It's yes, like plus 147, which means that they probably will use the word marijuana. That means you got to bet $147 to win 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what though, Eric? I don't think that the official game announcers are going to say the word.
I don't think they're going to say it during the Super Bowl, but I'll tell you what. I bet you're probably every late night comedian that gets 2 seconds to get interviewed.
We've been having a great time.
Oh yeah, well, that's the gift. That's how good marijuana is. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It evokes laughs even if you're not using the product.
Eric Hatfield said that.
Shoot.
Go ahead, Fixer.
Hey, another bet that you can bet on will Mike Crabtree mentioned Richard Sherman in a tweet during the Super Bowl from kickoff to the final whistle.
Oh my God! What's the money line on that one?
I think it's like plus 135 or something like that.
Wow, that's going to be fun.
You got to bet 100 to win 100. I mean, bet 135 to win 100. So it's more than likely that he probably will tweet.
Wow. Okay, hey man, you know what? Look, I got a quick question for you before you give us the odds on the game and the over and under on the game. Quick question. I was having an office conversation yesterday. Someone said that they wanted Seattle plus 5. If the score at kickoff, if they take that bet, Seattle plus 5, which team has 5 points at the kickoff? Seattle or Denver? Seattle has 5 points.
Which means they're 5-point underdogs.
They're 5 points up, and Denver has to beat them by 5 or more points
to win a bet on the Denver
to win
Broncos.
That bet. Is that
You are
right?
correct.
Okay.
You see, we don't see in little old Baton Rouge. We don't live in the Vegas culture where we could just roll out, plus 5, minus 5.5. We got to explain to the audience
Right.
some of the gambling
this guy
lingo.
had no idea. He kept saying, "No, it's Denver." But anyway, go ahead, man. Run to us the official line on the game and what you think, as well as the over and under.
All right. The official line on the game is I don't know where you guys getting 5. I wish I knew. I'd take that bet. But the spread right now is 2.5. It was that at 2 o'clock this morning.
Favoring who?
So Seattle 2.5 points at the start of the game.
So Seattle minus 2.5.
To Seattle plus
2.5. Okay, so the Broncos are still favored.
At the beginning of the game.
Gotcha. Okay. So what's the fixers? What's the fixers money on?
Yes.
Hold on. The over/under is 47.
Ooh.
So they saying it's a medium scoring game.
Right. Right.
But at a line at 2.5, the fixer's going to take Seattle plus 2.5.
You're gonna take Seattle and the 2.5.
I'm taking Seattle in the 2.5.
Independent of the 2.5 points, do you think the Seahawks are going to win the ball game?
Yeah.
All right. That was like pulling teeth.
Right, because he doesn't see it. He doesn't look in those terms.
Right. Sure, of course. I know. Silly folks. Silly non-Vegas folks.
All right, man. Hey, you know the routine, man. Stay off the grid.
Stay out of jail.
Take care. We'll holler.
All right.
Peace.
Catch y'all later.
I'm going down, baby. Yo, street in the rain. Come on. Boom, baby. Ready to let it go.
That was the Fixer.
Hey, man, you know who we got coming up after our show?
Who's that? We got Noel Jackson. Music Satisfaction. 12 noon here on WHYR 96.9 FM. So anyway, getting back now to our LSU Tigers, our beloved LSU Tigers. LSU showed up and showed out against the Kentucky Wildcats. They did their job. They beat Kentucky. I love the headline on LSUsports.net that the O'Brien-led LSU Tigers left Kentucky in the cold because it was freezing that night. But Johnny O'Brien III had perhaps the best game of his collegiate career, his 3-year career here at LSU. 29 points against the Kentucky Wildcats, who can play some defense, and beating the number 11 Wildcats, as I'd mentioned, by 5 points, 87-82. So that moves LSU up to 4-3 in the SEC. I earlier in the year said I thought they'd have a 9-7 or a 10-6 record. Again, I'm assuming it's 16 conference games. I haven't looked at that closely, but it always has been. Anyway, at 4-3, they seem to be on pace. Of course, they still have the likes of Florida, and they have to face Kentucky a second time, so that race is far from over. But at 13-6, 4-3 in the conference, this looks like a team with a pulse. It dropped Kentucky to 5-2, so they're only a game back of Kentucky in the SEC regular season race.
Right. Hey, man, you know, as I headed out to this game, Eric, I was debating all day, should I try to fight this ice, right? So I head out, the interstate's closed. I try to go down Blue Bonnet, it closes.
Right.
I slid about 6 different times in total between there and getting back home.
Oh, no.
But you know what? I'm glad I was there.
Oh, you were there?
I was there.
Oh, man, you deserve...
You know what? And I was surprised that so many people were there.
I mean, yeah.
The Tiger fans showed out, and Kentucky travels well.
They do, every year.
Yeah, there's a nation of Wildcats. So it was just a fantastic game. The Tigers played the best team basketball I've seen them play.
We've talked about that.
In a number of years,
yeah.
I haven't seen them play that type of team basketball. And the student section, a little over rowdy for my taste. However, they were rowdy.
They had nothing else to do.
Right.
Especially if you live on campus, you're snowed in.
Right.
Might as well go to the game and act a fool.
And no telling what other behavior you were engaging in.
Maybe some Super Bowl worthy behavior, but I'm not going to go there. But
yeah, they came out, they showed out, and they did a fantastic job. Great job, Tigers. Hopefully you can ride that momentum and get into the tournament by having a nice SEC tournament, finishing the regular season strong, having a nice SEC tournament, and that win should land you consideration for the big dance.
Right. You know, the thing with LSU is they have very little room for error. They have very little room for any additional losses, any additional bad losses. I mean, I'm going to concede. In other words, I'm going to concede Kentucky and Florida. They don't have a lot of room for error when they lost to Rhode Island earlier this year, and that loss at Ole Miss did not help their cause very much at all. I mean, they've had some kind of spotty losses, so they've got to make up for it. But that win against Kentucky at home went a long way towards helping them make up for some of the lost ground. The only problem for the Tigers, quite frankly, is that they don't. Other than Florida and Kentucky, they don't have teams with very strong RPI ratings left on their schedule, and that's a heavy driver for those at-large bids in the NCAA tournament.
Make it to the second or third round of the SEC tournament, where you might have to play a Florida, where you might have to play a Kentucky again in a rematch, or get a chance to beat Missouri again, although their record isn't doing very well. Just keep winning. That's all.
That's right.
Just keep winning and you'll be there.
Do what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
Now, today they have a game in the Pete Maravich Assembly Center that they should not be losing at all. The Arkansas Razorbacks coming to town. This team truly is an enigma. This team averages 82 points a game, but they can't stop a runny nose defensively.
Man, I missed the days 40 minutes of
hell,
terror.
Yeah. Nolan Richardson and all them.
Nolan Richardson, that crew. That gave me the passion for basketball, watching those guys.
Oh, those were some good times, man. Back in the early 90s, late 80s.
Todd Day.
Right, and big nasty Carlos Williamson. Remember him? And they had some studs on that team. Arkansas is really a really strange team. Now, yesterday I was listening to Matt Moscona on After Further Review on ESPN Radio here in Baton Rouge, and I heard a statistic I just couldn't believe. The Arkansas Razorbacks are 13-7 right now, 2-5 in SEC play. In their last 30 games played away from Fayetteville, Arkansas, in other words, games that were not played in their own building, their record in the last 30 games not played in Arkansas is 3-27. I just could not believe that, including 2-5 this year. They cannot buy a win on the road, so it seems.
I blame the athletic director for that. You need to schedule some road games that are sure victories. When you're an SEC caliber school, you need to, schedule some subpar teams just so your team can get rid of that record.
Right, you should be able to come to town. You should be able to come to town and at least have somebody worry about you a little bit.
Yeah, right.
3-27, that is unbelievable. But scoring 80-some-odd points a game, but they're shooting about 45% from the field. So this is a team that clearly likes to jack up a lot of three-pointers. They move the ball well, but defensively they really have nothing. And there was a gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he was from an FM radio station in Arkansas on the After Further Review show yesterday, and he's saying, I could sell some pie in the sky, but there's really no way I can see Arkansas winning this game. They can't stop Johnny O'Brien. They're not going to stop LSU, and I think LSU should come away with a victory today. That's one of those games while they should win, they absolutely have to win because they cannot afford a bad loss at the hands of an inferior opponent like that.
No, they can't follow up what they did to Kentucky with a loss to Arkansas.
No, absolutely not. And then they have Georgia later this week on Thursday in the Stageman Coliseum. That's another very winnable game against the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia's not very good at all, really, at any level this year. That's a game, even though it's a road game, they should hammer Georgia pretty hard. Georgia doesn't have a lot of strong presence in the paint. They don't have very good sharpshooters from the perimeter. They should walk into the Stageman Coliseum in Athens, Georgia, and put a whooping on the Georgia Bulldogs, and of course they'll have Auburn next Saturday at the PMAC.
Hey man, tell me this, do we have an I Told You So?
We sure do, and it's right about this time where we can hear where you told me so and I told you so, and you can say I told you so. 343-9927, 343-9927 if you would like to get in on the conversation here on 96.9 FM WHYR Baton Rouge Community Radio. Stay tuned, because on the other side of I Told You So, we're going to wrap up all the wrap up all the college basketball action day, and there are some really good ones, and then get on to the big game.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
There's no getting around that. So I'm looking forward to seeing the game. I think it's probably going to be a disaster, but not a disaster. I just don't think it's going to be much better than we've seen before.
Team Rice wins this one 22-21. In a Pro Bowl that was actually really fun to watch. This game came down to the wire.
I wonder if both Seattle and Denver, after legalizing marijuana, can put enough blueberry kush in the Super Bowl for us all to get a contact while watching the game.
But LSU's riding a little bit of a hot streak. Tigers don't make a fool out of me. I'm going to pick the LSU Tigers against the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I'm going to be rooting with you, but I'm going to pick against you.
We're going to have the Kentucky Wildcats coming to visit, and of course that's going to mean Coach Calipari's coming on down, and their main man Julius Randle, and I will be taking the Kentucky Wildcats in that contest.
Of course, the big blues in my blood, so yes, I think Kentucky will win.
Yep.
You were wrong. Nya 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 nya. Nya 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 nya.
Noel Jackson, music satisfaction. I'm going to go and take Iowa State. They're at home, so I'm going to take the Iowa State Cyclones to get back on the horse and beat the Kansas State Wildcats today. Michigan is playing some really good basketball also. Michigan State, Michigan. And they're playing, now Tom, I'm going to take Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans, but...
Yeah, man, again, I'm a coaching guy, and I just think Tom Izzo is one of the best. So yeah. I'm going to take Michigan State in that game. So, I think we've got a special guest, man. It is February the 1st.
Okay, and of course that will be the beginning of Black History Month, and being a community-based station and being in a city like Baton Rouge with a significant African-American population, we would be remiss if we did not pay tribute to Black History Month. Of course, we're going to have a little bit of a sports angle on it, and we'll have our guest coming on in just, actually, about 15 seconds. So stay tuned as we're going to hear the Louisiana All American Sports recognition from a special guest. You can hang it up to Black History Month here on the Louisiana All American Sports show. Perry, what's the name of our guest?
This is Professor Terrell Johnson, a professor at Southern University, and former McKinley High basketball player, Eric.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Yeah, class of 1985.
Oh, that's your people.
And he's now going to share, he's a historian, and he's going to share with us some sports facts regarding Black history. We're going to do this every show this month, and maybe beyond. Go ahead, Professor Johnson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Daniels. How you doing, sir? It is indeed a pleasure to be here for Black History Month. I appreciate the opportunity for you to allow me to share with your listening audience some information about Black sports. That the person that I'm going to address today is a quarterback from Grambling State University, James Harris.
I remember him.
The first Black starting quarterback in the NFL. He attended Grambling State University from 1965 to 1968 under the legend. He was drafted in 1969 to the AFL, the Buffalo Bills. He was an 8th round draft pick, 192nd overall pick for the he also played for the Los Angeles Rams and the San Diego Chargers. He was the 1974 Pro Bowl MVP, and he also obtained 4 SWAC titles while he was a quarterback at Grambling State University. Due to racial issues, Mr. Harris eventually left the Rams and ended his career with the San Diego Chargers. As he completed his career, he was the top-rated quarterback with a 55th percentile average overall. So big shout-out to Mr. Harris, who was an alumnus of Grambling State University, as well as I am also.
He had to get in his Grambling State University shout out. You hear that, Eric?
Yeah, well, you know, it's all right. It's a place for sports. It's a place for sports.
Well, Professor Johnson, man, we sure appreciate that, man. That was right on point.
Perfect.
And we'll holler at you next week, man. Your McKinley Panthers won last night. They defeated Dutchtown. They are 2-0 in the district. And your Bel Air Bengals play today at 4:30.
Great. I'm always proud to find out that McKinley's a winner, and I'm a strong supporter of Bel Air. I hope you guys do great tonight. Good luck on that.
Yes, sir. Professor, you can see your alma mater, the McKinley Panthers, Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com. They'll be broadcast over the internet playing Woodlawn.
Wow, thanks a bunch. I'll tune in.
All righty. Thank you, Professor.
Just see you guys next week.
Peace.
Well, that's fantastic. So that was, I'll tell you, I remember, obviously I was born in, I'm still, for right now, under the age of 40. 12 months from now, I won't be. But anyway, that James Harris, he had his peak before I was even born. But I know about him. I was an NFL films junkie, and he was a talented player. He definitely, being one of the first black starting quarterbacks in pro football. I don't know if he predated Marlon Briscoe, but he was right up there.
Right.
And he did have some. He's an old country boy, and I remember a lot of players, especially some of the white players from other parts of the country, saying they had trouble with his diction in the huddle, and there was a little friction there. I mean, it was a different time. You're talking late 60s, early 70s. Right. Warren Moon came in on a red carpet compared to these guys,
And Warren Moon's path wasn't easy.
No, it wasn't easy at all. But these cats definitely paved the way. And I do remember James Harris was the MVP of the 1974 Pro Bowl, which that caught my attention when I was reading about it one day, because the idea that a black quarterback would even get that kind of an honor before I was even born, that was foreign to me. So hey, I was glad he mentioned that little tidbit. Thanks a lot, Professor. We're looking forward to hearing from you more this month.
Man, we got to get going, man. I got picks to make for the Super Bowl. And
All right.
We got a lot of stuff going on. For right now, we're still in college basketball.
Yeah, let's hit our college basketball wrap-up real quick. Big game today. We have the Duke Blue Devils, ranked number 17, going to the Carrier Dome to play the Syracuse Orange.
Yes.
Jabari Parker and those Dukies have been a little up and down, more ups than downs, but they don't quite have that bulletproof aura they've had about them this year. Meanwhile, the Syracuse Orange had C.J. Fair and Jeremy Grant are scoring and rebounding machines. I like the Orange at home today.
I like the Orange as well. I don't think Duke is playing really good basketball right now. It's just that the Orange men are a little too tough in the Carrier Dome.
Oh, there's something else
But
this
you know
year.
what, Eric? I think they stay undefeated. However, the team ranked just above them that has to go into Cal today.
You think the Arizona Wildcats are going to lose at Berkeley? Really?
In Cal today.
Really? Heck no. I don't even have that on my list. But no, I'm going to. Now, here's the thing. When I've gone blind, like y'all are going to remember a little while ago, I said, "Oh, I'm taking Duke off top over Notre Dame," and then I'm taking Kentucky off top over LSU. Of course, that wasn't a blind pick, but now I have not looked. I have not done my research. I've not looked at key players, but I'm taking Arizona over California. It's definitely going to set up an "I told you so" one way or the other next week. And then we have the Iowa State Cyclones, who, interestingly, in the "I told you so," I actually got that one right last week. They beat Kansas State, but ever since 2 Saturdays ago, where I propped DeAndre Kane up for Player of the Year practically at the beginning of January, that's the only game they've won. They've lost 3 or 4. They're really struggling. They had another tough loss against the Kansas Jayhawks. They just don't look good, and Oklahoma's been on fire right now of late. Cameron Clark is playing well. He's averaging 17 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, and Cameron Clark really is the straw that stirs the drink. Right now, the Sooners are riding a 3-game winning streak. They look really good. I'm going to go with the Oklahoma Sooners, even though they're going to play at the Iowa State Cyclones. Oklahoma Sooners ranked 23, Iowa State ranked 16.
I'm going to pick Iowa State. I'm going to say they bounce back. They didn't play very bad against Kansas.
No.
They're in Kansas. It's just they played in Kansas, which is a tough place to play. I think Oklahoma looked really good in the Bedlam game against Oklahoma State.
Right.
Because it's the rivalry type game. I think they played above their normalcy. So, I go with Iowa State to bounce back with a victory and beat
the Oklahoma Sooners.
Oklahoma Sooners.
We have let's talk about other teams. Talk about my kisses of death. Other teams circling the drain. I'm not responsible for the Ohio State Buckeyes, but they were ranked as high as number 3 at one point, and they've gone down in a ball of flames, losing.
Score the ball.
No, they can't score the ball, and they're. I could go on and on and on, but Ohio State is in a nasty funk. They've lost, I want to say it's either 4 or 5 or 3 or 4, but they've been losing a lot. But the Wisconsin Badgers, who were 14-0 at one point, and I was talking up Coach Bo Ryan. Well, ever since then, their secret weapon has been Sam Decker, their forward. And he has done nothing really as of late in the games they've lost. So Wisconsin has gone on a real slide. The thing is, I think that Ohio State, when you have guys like LaQuinton Ross on the team scoring 14 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, and they have some size, Ohio State, while they're not scoring the ball the way they need to, I think they play better defense. Wisconsin, they have guys that do not set up their own shots, and they jack up a lot of shots from the outside. So I think I'm going to go with the Wisconsin Badgers. I'm sorry, strike that. I'm going to go with the Ohio State Buckeyes in this battle of teams that are sliding.
All right. I'm gonna stick with Wisconsin for them to bounce back. Now that you're off the bandwagon, I'm going to jump on it and get it going.
Shoot. All right, and then, of course, we have something coming up on Sunday. We have the Boston Celtics. They'll be playing the Orlando Magic on Sunday afternoon. Also, we have Michigan and Indiana. And for you NHL fans out there, we have wild card hopefuls, Detroit and Washington, who are on the outside looking in. They also skate up on the ice. Yep. And we have the National Football League, Super Bowl 48. The Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks, live from MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Hey, man, this is going to be, I think, a really good football game. And I've been kind of torn on which direction I was going to go here, Eric. I woke up this morning, and I was like, okay, well, I know who I'm going to choose. And then by the time I got to the studio, I said, well, no, I'm going to go with the other two. And here's the problem. Conventional wisdom says that defense offenses win championships.
That's right.
And Seattle has the better defense.
That's right.
The other issue, though, that the other factor is that Peyton Manning is really, really good, and this offense is really, really good, and this is the new era of football.
That's right.
So I'm thinking all week that Peyton Manning gets the victory. He retires this summer, and he goes off into the sunset as a Super Bowl winner, just like Ray Lewis did last year. Now, this morning, my good friend Derek Thomas sends me a video of the Seattle Seahawks locker room, and it is a bunch of men of Omega Psi Phi on this Seattle Seahawks football team. And they look loose, they're ready to go, and now I just can't pick against those men.
Oh, there you go, you Q-Dogs.
I just can't pick against them.
You guys, you Q-Dogs, I swear, y'all stick together. Y'all have some solidarity, I'll give y'all that.
I'm going to say Seattle's going to get this victory today, and Coach Pete Carroll will be crowned the head coach of the Super Bowl champions.
You know, I'll tell you what, I've been picking Denver since they beat the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game, and honestly, I picked them last week. I picked the Denver Broncos last week, but I've heard a lot of intelligent arguments during the past 6 days that could sell me on the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, they have some metrics: red zone defense, red zone offense, turnovers, scoring defense. The numbers do line up on the Seahawks side, but the weather's going to be very, very nice. Actually, around 40 degrees at kickoff. No wind, no rain, no snow. That is perfect, right, for a passing team in thin air. I'm going to stick with the Denver Broncos, like I kind of do, and I've always come to regret it every time I've done this. But I'm going to go on Peyton Manning's. Good credit in that game, and go ahead and take the Denver Broncos. But of course, good credit has sometimes blown up in my face a few times, picking teams with basically ignoring some of the metrics and going on kind of past experiences with a team. So I'm going to hold my breath a little bit, but I do think Peyton Manning wins. The only thing where I completely disagree, and we can definitely make this, and I told you so, there's no way Peyton Manning retires. Yet he had the best statistical year that any quarterback has had ever in the history of the league. He said so himself. He's going to keep playing while he's still really good. I think there is absolutely no way that Peyton Manning retires. Not this year, not after that season he's had. You only get to play. First of all, very few people are blessed to be able to play pro football, and it's something that those few who are blessed only get to do once in their lifetime. Once it's over, it's over. Win or lose, there's no way Peyton Manning, my personal opinion from what I've seen, there's no way Peyton Manning steps away, but that will make an interesting I told you so moment for some point later this year.
Most definitely, but he said himself, Eric, that depending on test results with his neck this off season will determine what he's going to do.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm thinking, hey, if he wins today, then the results this off season don't have to be that detrimental to push him to the caution area.
Sure. No, and you don't want to do that, especially when your legacy is already sewn up pretty securely. Absolutely.
The young man out of New Orleans, out of Newman High School, has made it.
Yeah. And he wins that second Super Bowl. There'll be no talk. Any critiques there are of him will be gone. You don't have when you win
in the cold weather.
Right. The cold weather game against a great defense like the Seattle Seahawks. I am looking forward to this game. This is a really great matchup of two great teams. We've discussed before, making it to the Super Bowl is all about getting hot. Both of these teams were hot in the regular season and then stayed hot in the postseason. A lot of times we've seen teams like the Green Bay Packers start off as a sixth seed and then play their best ball in January, make it to the Super Bowl. We saw that with the San Francisco 49ers in 2012. We've seen it twice with the New York Giants, once in 2007 and then really in 2011 where they practically limped into the playoffs at 9-7, beating the Dallas Cowboys in an annual losing tradition for the Cowboys to take the NFC East, and then they made a run playing 3 games, 2 on the road to make it to the big game, and then destroy Tom Brady's hopes and dreams again to my great joy. But I digress a little bit.
it's been about getting hot a lot of times. These two teams were the best in the regular season and the best in the postseason, and I think we're going to get treated to one heck of a Super Bowl matchup. Now, the last time two number one seeds met, and Peyton Manning fans, you might not like this too much, or you might like it a little bit, because the last time two number one seeds met was when the Saints won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 44. But I heard something on, I've listened to so much media this week, I'm getting my sources confused. I believe it was on either ESPN or NFL Network. Someone spouted off a stat that the Super Bowl has not had, this is only the second time in, I believe, the last 20 years in which the two number one seeds in each conference
have made it to the Super Bowl. So it's not something that happens very often. It has happened twice in the last 5 years, but don't expect that to happen every day, every week.
Right, most definitely.
So Perry, you're switching over to the Seattle Seahawks. Is that correct?
Seattle Seahawks and the Qs once again. Hey, now look. The same thing came out last year with the Ravens, man. They had a bunch of Omegas on their team, and that came through in that game against San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. Well, they looked like some beasts. And they even had the purple and everything, too.
Right.
One thing I find fascinating, our country, I'm going to go on, since it is not even since it's Black History Month, but it happens to be Black History Month, and it just, what you said reminded me of some social commentaries that, we do have, I guess, the original sin of our great nation is slavery, and then the outbirth of that was Jim Crow, and of course we made a lot of advances in the 20th century, and certainly the last 50, 60 years. One, even out of every dark cloud there's a silver lining, and that you've had historically black colleges and universities, especially in the South, and what you have there is you have some interesting cultural differences that emerge. And one thing I've noticed out of the African-American, the black Greek experience, the black fraternity experience versus the white fraternity experience, I've noticed that the mainstream, the white fraternity experience, in my view, seems to pretty much stop at graduation. They'll have socials and get-togethers, but
that is a difference.
The black experience is for life. I love watching older ladies and gentlemen who are in, your Delta Sigs and your Q Dogs and your Sigmas. That was what my grandfather was in. My mom was Sigma Gamma Rho.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, at LSUNO back in the mid-'60s. But I love watching them kind of get those flames stoked really quickly, especially when you have events, when you have a fraternity experience like you said you saw in the Seahawks locker room, or you have the Bayou Classic, you see those colors come out. It's one of those fascinating things where, even out of something that was kind of unfortunate, which were some developments of our country, you do have some interesting, fascinating cultural phenomena in our country. That is going to be about all the time we have. Noel Jackson with Music Satisfaction coming up in just 45 seconds here on 96.9 WHYR LP.
AET, JNS, love you.
And as we always say, have a good afternoon.
Turn this back up here.
Sure. Whenever you go ahead. Go ahead. Noel. Whenever you're ready, I'm gonna get out your way.
Oh, it's all right.